In 1993, Thai Airways launched Royal Orchid Plus, and Thailand learned to collect miles. That was 33 years ago. Since then, the country has built one of Asia's great loyalty machines. A coalition with 23 million members, telco programs, a petrol card at every pump, a transit card on the Skytrain, and a bank sector fighting hard for the affluent wallet. And in all that time, in all those programs, not one of them ever offered a Thai the thing this series has spent 16 volumes studying: a transferable currency. Points you earn in one place and move, at your choosing, into any of 20 airline programs. Nobody in Thailand has ever sold that. Nobody in Thailand sells it today. This is an independent analysis of whether HeyMax, the Singapore rewards platform this series has examined across 16 volumes, should enter Thailand. Researched in August 2026 from public sources. Nobody paid for it, nobody previewed it, and nothing in it is financial advice. Thailand arrives here with a recommendation already attached. The Pool Atlas, the previous volume, screened every major interchange pool on Earth and named Thailand the strongest untouched market on HeyMax's map. An uncapped pool, the calmest regulatory weather on the belt, the deepest aviation aspiration in Southeast Asia outside Singapore, and a corridor to HeyMax's home market that ranks among the busiest city pairs in world aviation. But a screen is a filter, not a verdict. This volume is the full audit behind that screening because the method this series follows requires the complete examination. The incumbents, the record, the reception, the arithmetic, the plan, and the falsifiers. The audit has real questions to answer because Thailand is not an empty market. Thailand's loyalty industry is worth more than $670 million a year and growing at 16%. The One Central Group's coalition ranks among the top 5 loyalty platforms in all of Asia. Around it sit True and IS and the PTT Blue Card and Rabbit and Grab. That is a crowded field by any measure. So the question is the one this series always asks of a crowded field. Is there a vacancy shaped like the entrant? The preview, earned across the next 15 chapters, is that there is exactly one. It is the same vacancy HeyMax filled in Singapore, and nobody in Thailand is standing in it. Here is what I will show you: the demand which runs in both directions, the pool which nobody has capped, the giants who all lack the same thing, the wallets and the Skytrain and the super apps, the national currency which is rebuilding and selling, the banks who offer no breadth, the people who are ready. Then the formal machinery, the gap hunt, the record which is a deliberate zero, the economics which are the cheapest this series has ever priced, the battlefield, the partners, the plan, the prohibitions. And a verdict with 5 falsifiers, 2 of which a single conversation could resolve. 16 chapters, let's begin. Chapter 1, The Kingdom's Demand. Every volume in this series opens with travel demand, because travel demand is what miles are for. And Thailand's demand has a shape no market in this series has had before. Thailand is simultaneously a top-tier destination and a fast-growing source. Both sides of the corridor equation in one country. That has not happened once in 16 volumes. Start with the destination side, which barely needs introducing. Thailand is Southeast Asia's tourism heavyweight. The Bangkok, Phuket, and Chiang Mai circuit pulls tens of millions of international arrivals a year. And here is the part that matters for this analysis. The feeder markets are exactly HeyMax's geography. Singaporeans treat Bangkok as a weekend extension of their own city. Hong Kongers fill the same flights. The Japanese and Korean corridors this series has already mapped route through Thai holidays constantly. Singapore to Bangkok ranks among the busiest international city pairs in world aviation. Multiple airlines, shuttle frequency, under 3 hours in the air. Hong Kong to Bangkok follows close behind. For HeyMax, that is not an opportunity. That is revenue today. Every member's Thai hotel, every Klook itinerary, every Grab ride in Bangkok books through inventory the platform already carries, at the travel vertical's commissions of 10 to 25%. The corridor thesis that anchored the Japan volume operates here too, but at a different rhythm. Higher frequency. Lower ticket size. Thailand is not the aspirational annual trip. Thailand is the habitual quarterly one. Now the source side, which is the newer and more interesting story. Thai outbound travel has boomed past its pre-pandemic shape. Japan is the obsession. The Japan trip genre on Thai social media rivals Singapore's for volume and intensity. Korea and Singapore follow behind it, and an outbound boom is precisely what Mint Smiles demand, a growing middle class, flying international routes on which an award seat feels winnable. Here is the fact that struck me hardest in the research. The Thai traveler's aspiration map matches HeyMax's treaty rack almost exactly. Japan Airlines for the Japan corridor, Cathay for Hong Kong, EVA for Taipei connections, Singapore Airlines for the region's hub. The programs already sitting on HeyMax's shelf are the programs Thai travelers actually want. No prior market volume in this series could make that statement this cleanly. In Japan, the shelf was partly wrong for the market. In the Americas, it was almost entirely wrong. Here, it fits. Two more demand-side facts sharpen the logic. First, Thai outbound is short-haul dominated. That means Thai redemptions live on the same regional award chart that survived Japan's fuel surcharge shock and the belts carrier's price that chart richly in availability. A Thai member's realistic dream is Bangkok to Tokyo in a premium cabin. That sits exactly where HeyMax's roster is strongest. Not a fantasy first-class redemption across the Pacific. A 4.5-hour flight that a working professional can actually book. Second, the demand is young. The median Thai international traveler is roughly a decade younger than the Japanese equivalent, digitally native, fluent in Shopee and Lazada and Line, and forming loyalty habits right now. That last point is the compounding spread argument the Pool Atlas flagged. When a market's habits are still forming, the platform that arrives first does not just capture demand. It participates in building the culture it will later monetize. Singapore's own story is the proof. HeyMax did not enter a finished miles culture at home. It helped finish one. So the demand verdict in a line. Thailand offers HeyMax the first market in this series where the corridor already pays, the aspiration already points at the shelf, and the demographic is still forming its habits. That is the demand. Next comes the money underneath it. Chapter 2, The Pool. Every volume in this series has an interchange chapter, because interchange is where rewards money actually comes from. When you earn a mile, somebody paid for it, and in almost every case that somebody is a merchant, paying a fee on your card transaction, some fraction of which flows back to whoever issued you the reward. Cap that fee and you do not reduce rewards. You delete them. Australia is the proof, and this series has now written that obituary. So Thailand's pool, it is the reason this volume exists. The facts, with the sourcing discipline the Atlas established. Thailand imposes no statutory cap on consumer credit interchange. None. Merchant discount rates across the card-accepting economy run at an estimated 1.6 to 2.5%. I say estimated, and I mean it. Unregulated markets publish nothing, so those are commercial figures assembled from acquirer disclosures and industry reporting, not from a regulatory schedule. They are set by network competition in the standard open pool pattern. And the Bank of Thailand's regulatory energy has gone somewhere else entirely. PromptPay, the national instant payment scheme, is the central bank's flagship project, and it has consumed the policy oxygen. The merchant fee politics of the Anglosphere have simply not arrived in Bangkok. There is no cap consultation, no transparency campaign, no negotiated squeeze of the kind that has eaten Australia and is chewing at the United Kingdom. On the Atlas's four-regime taxonomy, Thailand is an open pool with a technology clock rather than a regulatory one. That is the calmest whether anywhere on the belt. What does the pool fund? Walk through Bangkok's affluent tier and you can see it. Thai banks run a genuine premium card war. KTC's rewards machine. Casacorn and SCB's travel cards. the co-brand families feeding Royal Orchid Plus, earn rates, lounge access, first-year bonuses. It would all read as familiar to any Singaporean optimizer because it is funded from tolls of a similar size. The bounty economy runs alongside it. Card acquisition payouts, bancassurance incentives, the issuer marketing budgets that HeyMax's business model harvests in every market it operates. This pool is smaller than Japan's and younger than Singapore's, but it is real. And here is the part that matters most for the entry mathematics. It has already built the demographic. There is a Bangkok professional class that knows what a mile is worth, holds the co-brands, and optimizes hard within the very narrow game the market currently offers them. Now the clock, stated honestly, because the Atlas made it the belt's defining variable. PromptPay is one of the world's great instant payment successes. Person-to-person payments in Thailand are effectively fully converted. QR acceptance blankets the small merchant economy. The scheme's zero-fee rails are doing to Thai microtransactions what Pix did to Brazilian ones, and Brazil's almanac in this series was largely a study of what happens after. But look carefully at where the card pool's territory actually sits. The top of the market, affluent urban spending, travel, premium e-commerce, the corporate economy, those are not the transactions QR has taken. The Atlas's reading was mid-conquest, and it holds. The affluent card tier's rich toll runway is an estimated 5 years or more. The mass tier will most likely never form card habits at all. And the correct architecture for a product entering this market is two-tier from birth. Card culture earn for the tier that has formed, payment moment earn for the QR nation. In that order, and I will return to why the order is not negotiable. Here is the comparison that places Thailand on the series map. This pool sits roughly where Singapore's stood a decade ago, uncapped, funding a young premium card culture, before regulatory attention arrived. With one difference, and it cuts in HeyMax's favor. The QR mass rail already exists, which means a platform entering now can design for the pool's entire life cycle on day one, instead of retrofitting in a panic when the clock strikes. Singapore taught HeyMax the card era playbook. Brazil taught it the postcard one. Thailand is the first market where both get deployed together by design. The pool priced, open, real, and clocked. Next, the machines it funds. Chapter 3, The Coalition Giants. Thailand's loyalty incumbents are conglomerate machines of real scale. This chapter maps the four that matter, because the entry thesis depends on knowing exactly what they do, and more importantly, on knowing what every one of them has declined to do. The one first, because it towers over everything else. Central Group's coalition counts more than 23 million members. That is roughly a third of the country. It is Thailand's dominant loyalty platform and, by the industry's own rankings, one of the 5 largest in all of Asia. Sit with that number for a second. A third of a nation in one program. Its footprint is the central empire itself. The department stores and malls that anchor Bangkok retail, the supermarket and convenience banners, the restaurant groups, the Centara hotel chain, and in 2025, a 4-tier membership revamp aimed at lifestyle segmentation. The one is Thailand's PC Optimum and its Scene Plus at the same time. Retail-anchored, data-rich, app-first, and fundamentally a closed loop, points earned inside the empire, redeemed inside the empire. Now here is the single most interesting fact about the one for this analysis. A narrow travel exit already exists. The Centara Hotel wing bridges to Royal Orchid Plus, which means the coalition understands travel demand. It has looked at its members and concluded correctly that some of them want to fly somewhere. But the bridge is boutique, hotel-mediated, available through one wing of the empire. It is nothing remotely like a transferable currency. 23 million members, and the aspirational exit is a footnote. Next, the telco pair, TrueU and a IS Serenade. True's program runs mass-market perks across a very large subscriber base. A IS Serenade tiers the premium end, with the lounge and privilege model that Thai professionals actually use and actually value. Both are retention machines for telco empires. This is the closed-loop logic this series has mapped from Rakuten in Japan to PC Optimum in Canada, and the finding is the same each time. No travel currency, no external exits, no deficit that management would acknowledge if you ask them. The telco churn thesis from the partnership's volume applies here in principle. Miles as retention would differentiate either program sharply. But note what both giants are doing. Their programs exist precisely to avoid external dependency. That is the point of building one. PTT Blue Card completes the daily spend map. The national oil companies program at the petrol pumps and the convenience stores attached to them. That fuel loyalty position, which the partnership's volume ranked so highly as a Singapore opportunity, is already taken here. By the state champion. Closed loop. Points for discounts. Now the analytical work. What do the giants collectively mean for an entry? 3 findings. First, daily spend earn is enclosed, Thai edition. Groceries, fuel, telco, malls, all of it runs proprietary programs. The U-style deal, where an external currency rents a coalition's distribution, has no obvious first counterparty among giants this large and this self-sufficient. Second, and this is the finding that shapes the whole volume, the giants are all domestic value machines. Every one of them redeems into discounts, upgrades, and empire perks. Not one offers the aspirational exit that Thai travelers demonstrably want, as Chapter 1 established. The One Centara footbridge is the exception that proves it. Demand for a travel exit exists inside the biggest coalition in the country, and the coalition serves that demand through a hotel wing workaround rather than building a real rail. Why? Because building a real rail means negotiating airline treaties, and negotiating airline treaties is a specialist business that a retail conglomerate has no reason to be in. Third, the giants are partnership candidates on a lag, not at launch. The partnership grammar this series developed says coalitions go looking for travel exits when competition forces them to differentiate. And Thailand's coalition war is heading toward exactly that moment. The ones revamp, the telcos tiering, everyone segmenting. A HeyMax with a live Thai operation and a treaty-grade Royal Orchid Plus rail becomes the obvious counterparty the day the One or Serenade decides its points need wings. The giants mapped. Enormous, closed, travel poor, and, on the evidence of their own bridges and revamps, one competitive cycle away from wanting exactly what HeyMax sells. The wallet and transit layer beneath them is next. Chapter 4. The wallets, the Skytrain, and the super apps. Below the coalition, giants runs Thailand's payments and platform layer. Its census completes the competitive map, and it matters for 2 reasons. This is the layer where the QR clock actually lives, and this is where one incumbent occupies a position this series has learned to prize above almost any other. True Money first. Thailand's dominant e-wallet, the True Empire's fintech arm, with tens of millions of users and acceptance blanketing the convenience economy. Its rewards run through the TrueU orbit. Closed loop, discount-shaped, no travel dimension whatsoever. Its strategic meaning for this volume is not as a competitor. It is as infrastructure. True Money plus PromptPay together define the QR payment surface that a Phase 2 payment moment earn rail would have to ride on. The wallet is not a rival in the miles game. It is the rail the mass tier transacts on, and one day it may be a distribution partner. Now Rabbit, and this one deserves your full attention. Rabbit is the BTS Skytrain's stored value card, evolved into Rabbit Rewards. Points on transit rides, and points on merchant purchases across the network's retail catchment. Millions of Bangkok commuters tap it every working day. If you followed this series' Hong Kong volume, the structural read is immediate. Rabbit is Thailand's Octopus. Think about what that means. A transit-anchored daily payment habit belonging to exactly the urban professional demographic a miles platform wants, attached to a rewards program that has never once offered an aspirational exit. Somebody rides that train to an office job in Sathorn every morning, taps a card twice a day, accumulates points, and can redeem them for a discount on a coffee. The Octopus playbook from the partnership's volume translates to Bangkok almost clause for clause. The standing earn conversion, the first ever Miles on Transit pilot, and Rabbit's owner is a listed Transitan media group, not a state monopoly, which makes it a considerably more approachable counterparty than most of the giants in the previous chapter. File Rabbit as the single most interesting lattice candidate in Thailand. I will come back to it when I score the partnership ledger. Now Grab Thailand and the super app tier. Grab's Thai operation is among its largest anywhere. Line man Wongnai runs the local services flank, and Shopee, Lazada, and TikTok own e-commerce with their coin economies attached. The standing verdicts from earlier volumes apply here unchanged. The super apps are no-deficit giants. They are merchant floor relationships for HeyMax and nothing more, and Grab's regional rewards posture was priced in detail in the partnership's volume. The marketplace coins are closed-loop engagement tools, not currencies. One local wrinkle worth noting. Thailand is among Grab's and Shopee's most competitive theaters anywhere. The platform wars here are hot, and that helps the entry directly because a commission war between marketplaces keeps affiliate rates rich. The entry's funding seam benefits from other people's price war. And the fintech fringe, briefly. Thai neobanking is arriving. Virtual bank licenses have been issued and launches are pending. That promises a repeat of the Hong Kong pattern this series mapped in Volume 5. New banks arriving with rich pool access and no aspirational currency to attach to it, opening a partnership surface roughly 2 to 3 years after they launch. The virtual bank cohort goes on the watch file with a named trigger. The first licensee to ship a mass-market card product is the first yield-to-miles conversation. Now the synthesis for the entry design, because this layer divides very cleanly into 3. An affluent card tier, which is Chapter 2's pool, where the classic HeyMax model lands intact and unchanged. A QR mass tier, PromptPay and True Money, reachable only by payment moment merchant-funded earn, and reachable much later. And between them, transit and super app surfaces that are partnership material rather than territory to be taken. Nothing in this layer blocks an entry. And 2 things in it, Rabbit's octopus-shaped opening and the coming virtual banks, are the lattice deals that would compound one. The center of the map remains unvisited. The national currency that every Thai mile ultimately points toward, and the program whose rebuild is the entry's central anchor question. Chapter 5, The National Currency. Royal Orchid Plus is where Thai miles culture was born, and where every Thai mile still points. This chapter profiles it with the full anchor analysis toolkit, because the entry's central partnership question lives right here. The program in outlined. Launched in 1993, making it Southeast Asia's pioneering frequent flyer program, Royal Orchid Plus carries 3 decades of accumulated membership and the Star Alliance's full network reach. Its earn ecosystem is the classic national pattern. Co-brand credit cards across the major Thai banks, where the KTC and bank family Royal Orchid cards are the affluent wallet's default. Hotel partners, and a core relationship, and the airline's own fares. Its cultural position is crease flyer-like. It is the mile in Thailand. It is the default answer to the question of what points are for. It is the currency the community prices and the banks compete to feed. But the recent history matters far more than the heritage. Thai Airways went through the ringer. The airline entered court-supervised rehabilitation and emerged leaner. That process put Royal Orchid Plus through the ringer with it and brought it out the other side with a distinctly commercial posture. Watch what the program has been doing since. Expanding partners, marketing aggressively, and shipping monetization products, most tellingly Royal Orchid Plus Smart Miles Pay, which lets members pay for fares with Cash Plus Miles combinations. That last one is the signature move of a program managing its liability while courting engagement. It is not a loyalty feature. It is a balance sheet feature wearing a loyalty feature's clothes. Read through this series' lens, the signals compose into a very familiar profile. A flag carrier program in rebuild mode, revenue hungry, partner expanding. It is the exact posture the Japan volume found in Japan Airlines during its feeder selling year. And it is the posture that has preceded treaty signing in every market where this series has watched a treaty get signed. Now the HeyMax history on the record. Royal Orchid Plus was a cash for miles partner, reachable at retail prices until the June 2026 pruning removed the tier. I want to be precise about what that removal means because it is easy to misread. It was economics, not relationship. Retail Thai miles cost more than the funding ceiling can bear, exactly like every other cash for miles casualty in that pruning. What the cash for miles period proves is two things. Demand, HeyMax members converted into Royal Orchid Plus when they were able to. And contact, the commercial channel between the two companies exists and has been used. What it never tested is the wholesale question, and here the Atlas's bracket applies. Asian flag carrier programs in rebuild mode wholesale their miles at rates consistent with this series' funding ceiling. The Japan Airlines, EVA, Vietnam Airlines, and Garuda treaties are 4 independent demonstrations of that. Let me be honest about the epistemic status. There is no public Royal Orchid Plus wholesale price. There is a strong regional prior that a rebuilding Star Alliance program, monetizing this actively, will sell at signable rates. And one negotiation resolves it. That is the aeroplane lesson from the Canada volume, applied to a far more approachable counterparty. So what would a Royal Orchid Plus treaty actually mean? Let me state it with discipline. For the entry, the flag carrier anchor. The single asset the Japan volume proved decisive. It gives a Thai launch its aspirational core, the currency Thais already collect, at a one-to-one that the co-brand ecosystem cannot match unconditionally. For the corridor, Royal Orchid Plus redemption access for HeyMax's existing members on Star Alliance metal through Bangkok. For the program itself, a feeder currency reaching precisely the inbound market's Thai tourism monetizes. That is the mutual deficit geometry the anchor doctrine requires. Both sides bring something the other lacks. And now the honest caveats, because an anchor chapter without caveats is advocacy. Thai Airways' financial position makes program stability a genuine watch item. A restructured carrier's loyalty promises deserve rate governance clauses with real teeth. Bangkok Airways' flyer bonus offers a boutique second option rather than real alternative depth. If Royal Orchid Plus says no, there is no comparable substitute. And AirAsia's Thai operation, already on HeyMax's shelf at 1 to 1.2, covers the budget tier but not the aspiration. Nobody dreams about a low-cost redemption. The national currency, profiled, rebuilt, hungry, selling, and one governed negotiation away from the shelf. The banks that feed it complete the incumbent map. Chapter 6, The Banks and the People. 2 audit layers share this chapter. The card economy that funds the current miles game and the community that narrates it. They are more connected than they look. The banks first. Thailand's card market concentrates in a handful of issuers whose premium tiers fight a genuine rewards war. KTC, the Krungthai card arm, runs the market's most aggressive points machine, with transfer paths into Royal Orchid Plus and a rewards culture of its own. Casacorn and SCB anchor the Universal Bank's premium families. Bangkok Bank and the Internationals fill the field. And the co-brand tier, the Bank and Royal Orchid card families, is where the affluent Thai wallet defaults. The mechanics mirror Singapore's card economy at about 3/4 scale. Category multipliers, first-year bonuses, lounge perks, all of it funded from Chapter 2's uncapped tolls. But look at what the banks do not offer, because that absence is the structural gap this series hunts. Transfer breadth. The bank points ladders in Thailand reach Royal Orchid Plus, and then they essentially stop. There is no multi-airline optionality, no one-to-one standards. ratio tables that reward careful scrutiny rather than rewarding the member. A Thai optimizer's ceiling, today in 2026, is a good co-brand into a single program. Stop and recognize that configuration. That is precisely the pre-HeyMax Singapore setup. A rich pool, a strong national airline, competent bank cards, and exactly one destination for every point anybody earns. The comparison writes the entry pitch by itself. Now the people, because every market's community decides its reception, and this series has been wrong before by ignoring them. Thailand's point scene is vigorous and community native. The Pantip Forum threads where card strategies compound over years. The Facebook groups trading co-brand intelligence at Thai scale. The travel deal pages whose fair alert culture rivals Brazil's Melhores Destinos, and a YouTube tier teaching miles arithmetic in Thai. The community's stage of development is the strategically important read, and I want to name it precisely. Professionalizing, but pre-professional. Referral economics are arriving, but not yet dominant. Valuation tables circulate informally rather than as a business. The amateur authority voices are still ascendant. On the timeline, the American volume built. Thailand sits roughly where Singapore stood in the mid-2010s, which is the exact window that volume identified as the last chance to earn community standing rather than buy it. That distinction is worth a moment. A platform that arrives now, transparent and community-fluent, can get the relationship Singapore's community gave HeyMax. Auditors who check the arithmetic, find it honest, and then defend it publicly when a devaluation lands. A platform that arrives in 5 years, pays referral rates to a professionalized machine, and gets coverage instead of advocacy. Those are not the same asset, and only one of them survives a bad quarter. So let me run the reception forecast with the standard machinery. A HeyMax entry meets this community with 3 verifiable claims. 1. A one-to-one transfer into the program they already collect, against ratio-encumbered co-brand paths. 2. 20-plus alternative programs that no Thai product has ever offered. And as Chapter 1 showed, the Japan, Cathay and EV a shelf maps onto Thai aspiration precisely. 3. Published rates in a market of unpublished tables. The Thai audit culture is developed enough to verify all 3 claims quickly and to amplify what it verifies. It is the forming market version of Japan's audit machine, with one crucial difference. In Japan, the audit machine had incumbent currencies to defend and a natural skepticism toward a foreign entrant. Here, there is no incumbent transferable currency to defend. There is nothing for the community to be loyal to that HeyMax would be attacking. Fair, fast, and, for once in this series, probably favorable. The incumbent map is now complete. Giants without exits, wallets without aspirations, banks without breadth, a national currency in selling mode, and a community sitting at the earn-standing window. From here, the formal machinery assembles the verdict. The gap hunt, the record, the economics. Chapter 7, the gap hunt and the record. Now the formal machinery. The gap hunt runs with the ownership test attached, which is the discipline that separates this series from a pitch deck. The ownership test is one question asked of every gap you find. If this vacancy is real and valuable, why has nobody filled it? Because most gaps are not gaps. Most gaps are places somebody already looked, priced, and walked away from. A gap that survives the ownership test is one where the answer is, the natural owner has not arrived yet, and here is why. 4 candidates. Candidate 1, the transferable currency seat. This is the core question of the volume. Thailand has deep miles literacy, a rich pool, aspirational demand mapped to HeyMax's exact shelf, and no transferable multi-program currency from any provider whatsoever. Not from the banks whose points ladders are single program, not from the coalitions which run closed loops, not from the wallets whose points are discount instruments, and not from a local startup. I looked, and I did not find one. The Thai fintech wave went payments first, as it did across most of the belt. So run the ownership test. Who could naturally fill this? The banks will not, because their co-brand economics depend on the Royal Orchid monopoly. Breaking it would devalue the thing they sell. The giants could, in principle, but they face the same build versus buy wall every coalition faces. 20 airline treaties, negotiated from scratch by a retail conglomerate with no aviation commercial team. It is not that they cannot, it is that the return does not justify the decade. A local startup would need the treaty rack that HeyMax spent 3 years assembling, and would need it before it had a single member to justify the rates. Which leaves the answer. The natural owner of a transfer-breadth currency is whoever already holds the treaties, and exactly one company in this region does. The gap is real, it is open, and it is HeyMax-shaped. I want to mark this moment properly. This is the first market volume since Singapore's own founding story where the ownership test returns the entrant rather than returning a partner or a shrug. Candidate 2, the coalition travel exit. The one's 23 million members with a footbridge where a rail should be, and the telcos closed tiers alongside them. Real deficit, lattice-shaped. It is the U pattern, but its natural owner is a partner, not an entrant. The deal becomes available after a Thai operation exists and after the Royal Orchid Treaty has proved the currency works. Sequenced, not foreclosed. Candidate 3, the transit rail. Rabbit's octopus-shaped position. Daily transit payments, professional demographic, rewards without aspiration. The same analysis as Hong Kong's. Partnership material of the highest grade, post-entry. Candidate 4, the QR mass tier, PromptPay's nation, unreachable by card economics, addressable only by payment moment merchant-funded earn. Natural owner, whoever builds the rail first with a coalition behind it. The Atlas's sequencing rule applies. Coalition, then rail, which makes this a Phase 2 product and emphatically not an entry wedge. The Hunt's verdict, 1 entrant-shaped gap and 3 partnership-shaped deficits queued behind it. That is the cleanest result the method has produced since it was written. Now the record, which is brief as always. No +66 in the sign-up gate, no Thai roles ever posted, no Thai localization, no Thai marketing artifact. The expansion communications never named Thailand. The Series A's 5 markets were Japan, Taiwan, and Australia plus the live pair, and this series has watched that list's fate volume by volume. What HeyMax does hold in Thailand, itemized. The AirAsia Treaty at 1 to 1.2, covering the Thai budget tier. The Royal Orchid X-Cash 4 miles contact. The travel floors Thai inventory, monetizing the corridor today. And the destination earn thread for members physically in Thailand right now. So the record is a 0, and it is the familiar deliberate kind. A company with limited attention chose other markets, and choosing is what strategy is. But note what distinguishes this 0 from the American and Canadian ones. Those markets' audits justified their zeros. The United States is completed. Canada is a middle market with an unwilling anchor. Their absence was correct. This one's audit indicts it, gently, but it indicts it. Thailand is the first 0 in this series that the evidence says should end. The gap is real, the record is empty, the corridor already pays. What remains is the arithmetic. Chapter 8, Entry Economics. The arithmetic chapter, in the form this series requires. Funding, rates, costs, and the honest stress tests. This is the chapter where market volumes usually die, so let me run it carefully. The funding side first. Can Thai commissions mint competitive miles? Assemble the seams. Travel at the invariant 10 to 25%. And Thailand's bidirectional corridor from Chapter 1 makes this seam unusually thick because both member inbound and Thai outbound bookings monetize. Most markets give you one direction. This one gives you 2. E-commerce at growth belt rates. The Shopee, Lazada, and TikTok war keeps Thai affiliate commissions rich by mature market standards, as Chapter 4 noted. And the bounty economy. Card acquisition, insurance, brokerage, all running on Chapter 2's uncapped pool. Blend those with the method the Japan volume established, and the sustainable earn rate lands comfortably at the 1 mile per dollar class on travel-led mixes. So the funding clears at the standard Singapore-calibrated benchmark. With the usual caveat, this series always attaches. Domestic merchant-heavy spending mixes fund thinner than travel-led ones, and a member who only buys groceries subsidizes nobody. Now the competitive rate war, priced against the actual incumbents. The Thai Optimizer's current best path is a premium co-brand card, earning bank points that ladder into Royal Orchid Plus at a ratio. The effective yield on the strongest cards lands in the fraction of a mile per bot territory familiar from every single program market, conditional on card tier and spending category. HeyMax's proposition against that has 3 parts. Earn at the platform rate on top of any card, which is the stacking argument, and it is valid here because the co-brands keep earning underneath portal spend. Transfer at 1-to-1, unconditionally, and choose among more than 20 programs instead of 1. The comparison is not close on breadth because no Thai product offers optionality at all, and it is competitive on rate. That is the same structure that carved out Singapore's optimizer tier, run against weaker incumbent breadth than Singapore's banks were offering at the time. Now the costs in the series standard units. Address Thai launch requires localization, meaning Thai language, bot display, Thai support. The plus 66 gate. Floor assembly through the affiliate networks travel first with the domestic tail following. Community cultivation. And the regulatory perimeter, meaning Thai PDP a compliance and the foreign platform considerations, which are navigable but not free. My estimate, calibrated against the Japan and Taiwan models minus their harder localization problems. $300,000 to $500,000 for a credible first year. That is the cheapest dressed entry this series has ever priced, and the reason is structural, not optimistic. Thai is one language. The market is one metro-dominated tier. There is no script complexity of the Japanese kind and no honorific register problem of the Korean kind. The country is close, large, single-centered, and already corridor-connected to home. The Royal Orchid Treaty sits on top of that number. Wholesale-priced miles purchases at rates the regional prior says clear the ceiling, resolved by one negotiation. The revenue geometry, two-sided as always. The corridor side already runs. Thai bookings by existing members are current revenue, and destination earn deepens it. The domestic side is the beachhead model. The Bangkok Optimizer class, the co-brand holding, Japan Dreaming professional tier, realistically the low hundreds of thousands of people at maturity, earning travel-led and transferring into Royal Orchid Plus and the wider Asian shelf. Against a cost base of $300,000 to $500,000, the beachhead clears at modest penetration. And here is the structural point. The entry is cheap enough that the corridor's existing margin plausibly carries much of it. That is the funding structure the Japan plan called corridor pays for wedge, working here with smaller numbers on both sides of the equation and a much shorter distance between them. Now the stress tests honestly. Bought against Singapore dollar volatility adds rate risk that the Japan volume never faced at this magnitude. It is hedged by pricing the Thai earn rate in local funding terms from day one, not by translating a Singapore rate card. Thai Airways' financial fragility makes the anchor a governance question rather than a credit question. The treaty needs the rate protection clauses that the Atom lesson wrote into this series thinking permanently. And the QR clock bounds the card era window. The 5-year runway is the planning horizon, with the payment moment rail as the succession plan rather than the opening move. None of those 3 breaks the arithmetic. All 3 shape the contract terms and the sequencing. The economics stated once, funding clears, the rate war favors the entrant, the cost is the series' lowest, and the corridor subsidizes the build. Thailand is the first market volume, where every line of the arithmetic chapter lands green. Chapter 9, Opportunities and Threats. The battlefield compressed to its live contents. Opportunities ranked, threats priced, nothing on either list that I cannot defend. The opportunities, in order of value. First, the currency seed itself. Chapter 7's entrant-shaped gap. This is the founding opportunity, and everything else in this list compounds from it. Without it, nothing below is available. Second, the Royal Orchid Treaty. The anchor whose sell mode posture Chapter 5 documented. Signable on the regional prior. Transformative for both the entry and, incidentally, for existing HeyMax members who would gain Star Alliance access through Bangkok that they do not have today. Third, corridor deepening. Destination earn for the very large member visitor flow. Thai inventory curated properly rather than merely listed. The bidirectional booking economics that pay regardless of whether an entry ever happens. This one is free, and it is available this quarter. Fourth, the lattice queue. Rabbit's Transit Rail, which is the Octopus Playbook Bangkok edition. The one's eventual travel exit need, which is the U pattern at 23 million scale. The AIS Serenade churn defense pitch on the telco thesis. And the virtual bank cohort arriving with pool access and no currency, which is the Hong Kong pattern on a 2-year lag. Every one of those names is queued behind entry. And taken together, they describe a Thai coalition ceiling that exceeds Singapore's, because Thailand's giants are bigger and its enclosed categories are richer. Fifth, the first mover spread dividend. This is the Atlas's endogeneity argument. A platform that builds Thai Miles culture's tooling and community now compounds its own future market. It does not merely capture demand, it manufactures some. Now the threats priced. And I want to price these properly, because a threat register that concludes everything is fine is not a threat register. The super app flank. Grab or Shopee could bolt a transferable currency onto their Thai scale. The capability is real. The intent is absent. On this series, standing analysis of both companies' loyalty economics. Grab devalues, Shopee closes loops, and neither has ever shown appetite for the treaty negotiation business. Probability low. Severity high if I am wrong. The watch item is any super app airline partnership announcement, anywhere in the region. The incumbent response flank. The Thai banks could widen their transfer rosters. KTC adding 3 or 4 foreign programs would blunt the breadth pitch considerably. Probability moderate on a lag because banks move slowly and their existing economics discourage it. Severity moderate. The mitigation is simply the entry's head start, and the fact that a bank roster with 4 programs is still not a roster with 20. The American challenger flank. The United States volume's one-way mirror threat applies to Thailand exactly as it applies to HeyMax's home market. Rove or Built arriving with Asian rosters would contest the same seat. Probability low to moderate on a 3-year view. Severity high. This is one more argument for speed, and speed is the recommendation's operative word. The Thai Airways fragility flank. The anchor's parent remains financially delicate. A second restructuring that guts Royal Orchid Plus would wound the entry's aspirational core. This one is mitigated by something specific and worth stating clearly: the shelf's breadth. HeyMax's Thai pitch is Royal Orchid plus 20 other programs. That survives any single anchor stumble. It is the diversification argument that distinguishes this entry from every co-brand card in the market, all of which are entirely hostage to one airline's health. And finally, the clock. PromptPay's conquest continuing upmarket faster than estimated. That is the falsifier monitored runway from Chapter 2, and it is measurable quarterly. The battlefield shape, summarized. The opportunities are structural and queued. The threats are all either slow, in the case of incumbent response, or unlikely, in the case of a super app pivot, or hedged, in the case of anchor fragility against shelf breadth. And note what is not on the threat register. No threat here attacks the entry's foundation, which is the currency seat's vacancy, because filling that seat requires a treaty rack that no potential attacker holds. This is the clearest battlefield since Singapore's own. The partners, the plan, and the verdict remain. Chapter 10, the partnership ledger. This series runs every candidate through the same 5 questions, and I am not going to relax them for a market I happen to like. What deficit does this counterparty have? Can HeyMax's funding ceiling pay for the fix? Is the governance sound, meaning who controls the rate and what happens when they change it? Does the demographic overlap? And does the deal replicate, or is it a one-off that teaches nothing? A candidate that fails any one of those is not a partner. It is a press release. Royal Orchid Plus, Grade A and the entry's keystone. Deficit: a rebuilt program needs feeder currencies reaching exactly the inbound market's Thai tourism monetizes, and its earn ecosystem is domestically bounded. Thai co-brands, Thai hotels, Thai fares. It has almost no reach into the wallets that actually fly to Bangkok. Funding: the regional bracket says a Star Alliance program in rebuild mode wholesales inside the ceiling. Unproven for this specific program, but the Japan Airlines, EVA, Vietnam Airlines, and Garuda treaties are 4 independent draws from the same distribution. Governance: this is where the diligence lives. A post-rehabilitation carrier's loyalty promises need the rate protection clauses that the Atom lesson wrote into every subsequent treaty. Notice periods, floor guarantees, terms that survive a second restructuring at the parent. Demographics: exact. Royal Orchid Plus is the currency the target tier already collects. Replication: total. It is the same treaty shape as every flag carrier deal already on the shelf. 5 for 5, with 1 clause to negotiate hard. Rabbit, Grade A-, and the highest value lattice deal in the queue. Deficit: daily transit payments, a professional Bangkok demographic, and rewards with no aspiration attached. That is the precise Octopus configuration the Hong Kong volume identified, and the precise reason you happened in that market. Funding: transit-linked earn is thin margin, so this deal is co-marketing and rail access rather than rich merchant-funded earn. The value here is distribution, not commission, and pretending otherwise would be how you overpay for it. Governance: sound. The counterparty is an infrastructure operator, not a rival rewards issuer with its own agenda. Demographics: the commuting professional class, which is the beachhead by definition. Replication: it is the Octopus play, so yes. The only reason it grades below Royal Orchid Plus is sequencing. It is unpitchable before a Thai currency exists to pitch. The one Grade B+, real but slow. Deficit: 23 million members and a footbridge where a travel rail should be. And note that the Centaur to Royal Orchid path existing at all proves central, understands the exit, and has built the narrowest possible version of it. Funding: a coalition at that scale negotiates from strength and will want economics HeyMax's ceiling cannot casually fund. Governance: a conglomerate partner with its own loyalty profit and loss is structurally a competitor in one hand and a distributor in the other. That is manageable, but it is not simple. Demographics: broader than the target, which dilutes. Replication: the U pattern, so yes. A real deal, year 3, from a position of proof. A IS Serenade, Grade B. Deficit: churn defense for premium telco tiers whose rewards are undifferentiated. Funding: telco co-marketing budgets are genuinely available, which is more than can be said for most categories. Governance: fine. Demographics: the premium tier maps well. Replication: the telco thesis this series has now priced in 3 markets. A good second wave deal, not an entry lever. The virtual banks, Grade B on a clock. Thailand's incoming virtual bank cohort arrives with pool access, a customer acquisition problem, and no rewards currency. That is the exact configuration that made the Hong Kong digital banks natural counterparties. The deficit will be real the moment they launch. The deal is unavailable until they do. And now the declined, with reasons, because a ledger that grades everything is not a ledger. True Money and Shopee, closed-loop discount economics, no aspiration deficit, no funding fit. Grab Thailand, capability to build its own, and no incentive whatsoever to rent HeyMax's. PTT Blue Card. Fuel tier demographics sit outside the corridor thesis entirely. Bangkok Airways Flyer Bonus, boutique, additive not load-bearing. The ledger reads 1 keystone, 1 queued jewel, 3 second-wave names, and a clean set of refusals. Now the plan that sequences them. Chapter 11, the plan, Phase 1, the corridor and the treaty. Every market volume in this series ends in either a plan or a refusal. Thailand gets the plan. Here is Phase 1, the 12 months before a Thai product exists, during which the entry is de-risked to almost nothing. Month 0 to 3, monetize the corridor harder. This costs nothing and starts immediately because it is not an entry at all. It is an optimization of business HeyMax already does. Existing members fly to Bangkok constantly. Singapore to Bangkok is among the busiest international city pairs in world aviation. Hong Kong to Bangkok is dense behind it, and every one of those bookings that runs through HeyMax's travel floor already pays a commission today. So the work is curation. Thai hotel inventory surfaced properly instead of buried. Bangkok and Phuket and Chiang Mai merchandised as destinations rather than returned as search results. And destination earns switched on for members physically in Thailand, which is the visa configuration thread the American volume generalized. The measurable output is a Thai booking line that grows without a Thai entity, a Thai license, or a single Thai marketing dollar. And it produces the thing Phase 2 needs most, evidence, in the form of a demand curve you can put in front of a counterparty. Month 1 to 6, running in parallel, open the Royal Orchid conversation. The contact exists. The cash for miles relationship put HeyMax's commercial team in front of Royal Orchid Plus before the June 2026 pruning removed the retail tier. Nobody is cold calling here. And the pitch is not, please sell us miles cheaply. The pitch is the anchor doctrine's mutual deficit framing. HeyMax delivers a feeder currency reaching Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, and the Philippines, which are the exact inbound while its Thai tourism monetizes. Royal Orchid Plus delivers the aspirational core of a Thai product. Each side holds something the other cannot build. Negotiate 3 things, and be willing to walk away without any of them if the third is refused. A wholesale rate inside the funding ceiling, a 1-to-1 transfer standard, and rate governance with teeth, notice periods, floor guarantees, and survival clauses that outlive a second corporate restructuring at the parent. Thai Airways balance sheet makes that third item non-negotiable. And here is the tactical point. A counterparty in genuine rebuild mode will concede it because it costs them nothing today. The time to ask for governance is when the other side needs the deal. Month 3 to 9, assemble the floor quietly. Thai affiliate coverage through the networks HeyMax already runs. Travel first, because travel is where the commissions clear the ceiling and where the corridor demand already sits. Then the e-commerce tail, where the marketplace war keeps Thai rates rich. Then the bounty economy, card acquisition and insurance, funded by Chapter 2's uncapped pool. No launch, no announcement, just a floor that exists before anybody is invited to stand on it. Month 6 to 12, the perimeter and the language. Thai PDP a compliance. The foreign platform posture, bot display, Thai language product and support, and the plus 66 gate, which is the single most legible signal of intent this series tracks and whose absence has defined HeyMax's Thai record to date. The localization problem here is genuinely small. 1 language, 1 dominant metro tier. No script complexity of the Japanese kind, no honorific register problem of the Korean kind. This is the cheapest localization this series has ever costed. And now the gate at month 12, which is the part of the plan that matters most. Phase 2 proceeds if and only if 2 conditions hold. The Royal Orchid Treaty is signed on governed terms, and the corridor line demonstrates the demand the entry assumes. If the treaty fails on rate, the entry does not proceed as designed. It degrades to a corridor-only posture and waits for the counterparty's next budget cycle, which a rebuilding program will certainly have. If the treaty fails on governance, walk. Do not compromise. A currency whose anchor can be devalued without notice is the Atom lesson repeated at 10 times the cost, and this series has watched that film already. Phase 1 spends almost nothing and buys the only two things a launch actually needs: an anchor and a proof. Phase 2 is where the money goes. Chapter 12, the plan, Phases 2 and 3, the launch and the lattice. Phase 2, the dressed launch, months 12 to 24. Dressed is the operative word, and this series has been consistent about what it means. Not a landing page with a Thai flag on it, not the plus 66 gate opened while the product still quotes Singapore dollars. A dressed entry means Thai language throughout, bought as the display currency. Thai support hours. Thai merchant coverage deep enough that a member's ordinary week produces earn, and a shelf led by the currency Thais already collect. The launch proposition, stated the way a Bangkok optimizer would actually hear it. Earn on top of the card you already hold. Your KTC or Casacorn or SCB co-brand keeps earning underneath portal spend, so this is additive, not a switch. Nobody is asking you to give anything up. Transfer 1-to-1 into Royal Orchid Plus. No ratio table, no tier condition. And then discover that Royal Orchid Plus is one of more than 20 programs, including the Japanese and Taiwanese and Hong Kong currencies that Thai aspiration actually points at. 3 claims, all of them verifiable within an afternoon by a community that verifies things. The go-to-market is that community, not a billboard. Chapter 6's read is the operative asset here. Thailand's point scene is professionalizing but pre-professional, which means standing can still be earned rather than bought. The playbook is the one that worked at home. Transparent rates, published where the forums can check them. The arithmetic shown rather than asserted. The awkward questions answered in public, including the ones about devaluation. And the amateur authority voices treated as auditors rather than as affiliates. Pantip threads and the Facebook card groups will do more first-year acquisition than paid media will, at a cost that never appears in the marketing line. The beachhead is deliberately narrow. The Bangkok professional tier that holds a premium co-brand travels regionally 2 to 4 times a year and already knows what a mile is worth. Realistically, the low hundreds of thousands of people at maturity. That is a small number by Thai population standards, and it is the right number by unit economics. This series has been consistent that the miles game is an affluent game everywhere on Earth, and pretending otherwise is precisely how entrants burn capital acquiring users who will never transfer anything. Phase 3, the lattice, Year 2 into Year 3. Now the queued deals from Chapter 10 become pitchable, because now there is something to pitch. Rabbit first. The transit rail, the Octopus Play Bangkok edition. First, because it is the highest value distribution asset in the country for exactly this demographic, and because an infrastructure operator is the cleanest counterparty on the ledger. Then a IS serenade, the churn defense pitch on the telco thesis. Then the virtual banks, as they launch, arriving with pool access and no currency. The Hong Kong pattern on a lag, which is the reason to have your currency already running by the time they need one, rather than starting a build when the window opens. And the one last, from a position of proof, because a coalition of 23 million members negotiates on evidence and will not give good terms to an entrant who has none. Now the phase for question, which I am flagging and deliberately not scheduling. PromptPay's mass tier is unreachable by card economics and reachable only by payment moment merchant-funded earn. The Atlas's sequencing rule applies. Coalition first, then rail. It is a real product, and it is a real market. It is not an entry wedge. Building the rail before the coalition exists is the mistake that would consume the entire budget for a tier that does not transfer miles. Let me close with what each phase costs and what it buys, because that is the shape of the whole argument. Phase 1 costs near zero and buys the anchor and the proof. Phase 2 costs the $300,000 to $500,000 first year from Chapter 8 and buys the beachhead. Phase 3 costs deal expenses only and buys the compounding. The sequence is designed so that the expensive step never runs before the cheap step has told you whether to take it. That is not caution. That is what a good plan looks like when the biggest unknown is resolvable by a phone call. What remains is the shorter and more important list, the things not to do. Chapter 13, the Prohibitions. Plans describe what to do. This series has learned that the more useful list is what not to do, because failure modes are far more predictable than successes, and every prohibition below has a real precedent in the volumes behind this one. 7 of them. 1. Do not enter undressed. The single most reliable way to waste Thailand is to open the +66 gate, put a Thai flag on the sign-up page, and leave everything else in Singapore dollars and English. This series has watched the undressed entry fail in 2 markets already, and the failure has a shape. It acquires a thin layer of bilingual expatriates and diaspora. It produces earn rates that nobody local can actually use. It generates a public verdict of not for us in exactly the forums whose goodwill the entry depends on. And then it poisons the well for the dressed entry 2 years later, because first impressions in a community that keeps forum archives are permanent. Thailand's localization cost is the lowest this series has priced. There is no excuse for skipping it. And the low cost is precisely what makes skipping it tempting, because a cheap thing feels like a thing you can do halfway. 2. Do not launch without the anchor. A Thai product whose shelf does not include Royal Orchid Plus is a product asking Thais to abandon the currency they have collected since 1993, in favor of programs they have never earned in. The Japan volume proved the flag carrier anchor decisive. The entry economics in Chapter 8 assume it, and the honest version of this analysis is that without Royal Orchid Plus, the verdict of this volume changes from yes to conditional. The treaty is not a nice-to-have that Phase 2 can chase after launch. It is the gate. 3. Do not sign a rate that can be moved without notice. The Atom lesson is the most expensive one in the series' history, and it generalizes. A partner who can reprice unilaterally will at the worst possible moment, and your members experience it as your devaluation, not theirs. You absorb the reputational cost of somebody else's decision. With a counterparty whose parent has already been through court-supervised rehabilitation, governance clauses are not lawyerly decoration. They are the difference between an anchor and a liability. 4. Do not fight the coalitions. 23 million members, a national petrol network, 2 telco bases, and a transit card are not a competitive set to be attacked. They are a partnership queue. The entrance advantage is the one thing none of them has, and none of them can cheaply build: a rack of airline treaties. Positioning HeyMax as a rival to the one invites a fight over Thai retail earn, which is a fight against a conglomerate on its own ground, funded by its own balance sheet. Positioning HeyMax as the travel exit the coalitions lack invites a deal instead. Same company, same product, entirely different outcome, decided by how you introduce yourself. 5. Do not chase the QR mass tier first. It is the largest number on any Thai slide, and it is the worst possible first market. Payment Moment merchant-funded earn is a real Phase 4 product. Built before the coalition and the currency exist, it is an infrastructure project with no demand behind it, and it would consume the entire budget of Chapter 8 several times over before producing a single transferred mile. 6. Do not import Singapore's rate card. Thai merchant commissions, Thai card economics, and Thai willingness to pay are their own arithmetic. And bought against Singapore dollar movement adds a variable the home market never had. Price the earn rate in local funding terms from day one, as Chapter 8's stress test requires. An imported rate card either overpays into an unfunded liability or underpays into irrelevance. And which of those two it does is decided by a currency market rather than by anybody at HeyMax. That is not a risk you should accept for free. 7. Do not buy the community. Referral economics will eventually dominate Thailand's points media, as they dominate every mature markets. The window in which standing can be earned instead is open now, and it is closing. A platform that arrives paying for coverage gets coverage. A platform that arrives showing its arithmetic gets auditors who defend it. Only one of those survives the first devaluation, and there will be a first devaluation because there always is. 7 prohibitions, every one of them cheaper to obey than to learn. The verdict remains. Chapter 14, Thailand against the series. Before the verdict, the comparison. Because a recommendation means nothing without the ranking that produced it, and this series now has 15 volumes of scored markets to rank against. Recall the taxonomy this series built along the way. Deficit markets, places with a structural vacancy the entrant is shaped to fill. Completed markets, places where the seat exists and somebody credible is already sitting in it. Destroyed markets, places where regulation removed the funding but not the demand. Middle markets, places where the pool is thin enough that nobody can pay for the product properly. And orthogonal markets, places whose loyalty culture points somewhere HeyMax simply does not go. Now run the 15. Japan was this series' first yes. A deficit market with the Japan Airlines anchor, and it earned that yes across a genuinely hard audit. Taiwan and Hong Kong sit in the completed and contested band. The seats exist, and credible incumbents occupy them. Korea's audit came back conditional, on a currency question that never resolved cleanly. Australia was reclassified closed by the Pool Atlas. The Reserve Bank's cap and surcharge ban, effective the 1st of July 2026, removed the funding. The textbook destroyed market, and this series had to revise its own earlier verdict to say so. The United States is the deepest pool on Earth and the most completed market on Earth, simultaneously. A hard no on entry, and the origin of the one-way mirror threat that now appears in every volume's threat register. Canada is a middle market, with an anchor whose owner will not sell. Brazil has the culture and not the funding, this series' clearest case of demand without a pool. And the Pool Atlas screened everything else, which is how Thailand arrived here with a recommendation already attached. So now score Thailand against the strongest yes this series has issued, which is Japan. Thailand's pool is comparably uncapped, and its regulatory weather is calmer, because the Bank of Thailand's attention is on PromptPay rather than on interchange. Japan's aspirational demand is deeper, and its market is vastly larger. That is not close. But Thailand's corridor to home is far denser. Its localization cost is a fraction of Japan's, and its anchor is more willing because a rebuilding Star Alliance program actively shipping monetization products is a more motivated counterparty than a healthy flag carrier with no particular need for your money. Japan's entry cost was priced several times higher. And on the ownership test, the decisive one, Japan's currency seat had partial occupants. Thailand's is empty. That last point decides the ranking, and I want to state it plainly, because it is the strongest claim in this volume. Across 15 volumes and every major market on the map, the gap hunt has returned a partnership-shaped deficit dozens of times. It has returned an entrant-shaped vacancy exactly twice. Once in Singapore, in the founding story this series began with, and once here. Everywhere else, the answer to why has nobody filled this was, somebody has, or somebody will, or nobody can afford to. In Thailand, the answer is that the only company positioned to fill it is the company asking the question. Now the honest counterweight, because a chapter like this invites overconfidence, and I would rather supply the correction myself. Thailand's addressable affluent tier is smaller than Japan's by an order of magnitude, so the upside is a good business, not a transformative one. Nobody should model this as a company maker. The anchor's parent is financially fragile in a way that Japan Airlines is not. The QR clock runs faster here than in any market this series has issued a yes for. And the estimate that the treaty clears the funding ceiling rests on a regional prior rather than on a quoted Thai wholesale price. That is the single largest unverified assumption in this volume, and it is the one Chapter 15 hands to the falsifiers. Ranked, Thailand is the best risk-adjusted entry on HeyMax's map today, not the biggest prize. Japan holds that, but the cheapest path to a clean win in the only market where the seat is empty and the entrant is the natural owner. The verdict follows. Chapter 15, The Verdict and the Falsifiers. The verdict is yes, enter Thailand, phased with the treaty as the gate. That is the second unconditional yes this series has issued across 15 volumes of market audits, and it is issued with more confidence than the first. Here is the working, compressed to 5 lines. The pool is uncapped, and the regulator is looking elsewhere, so the product can be funded. The demand is real, literate, and aspirational, and it points at precisely the shelf HeyMax already holds. The corridor between Bangkok and HeyMax's home market is among the busiest in world aviation, and it already generates revenue that would subsidize the build. The incumbent field is crowded with giants who all lack the same thing, a travel exit, and none of whom can cheaply build one. And the gap hunt returned the answer it has returned only once before. The natural owner of Thailand's vacant transferable currency seat is the company holding the treaty rack, and exactly one company in this region holds it. Now, the verdict's shape matters as much as its direction. This is not launch Thailand. This is monetize the corridor now at near zero cost. Negotiate Royal Orchid Plus with governance clauses that survive a second restructuring, and let that negotiation decide whether the money gets spent at all. A signed, governed treaty converts a $300,000 to $500,000 first year into the cheapest dressed entry this series has ever priced. A failed one leaves HeyMax exactly where it stands today, minus a few months of commercial attention and plus a deeper Thai booking line. The asymmetry is the whole argument. I would not recommend a Thai launch that skipped Phase 1, and I would not recommend delaying Phase 1 by a single quarter because the earned standing window in the community and the 5-year runway on the Cardera pool are both consumable assets. They are being spent whether or not anybody uses them. Now the falsifiers, stated in advance and precisely, because this series does not get to issue a verdict without saying what would break it. 5 things would change my mind, ordered by how likely I think they are. 1. The wholesale price. The largest unverified assumption in this volume is that Royal Orchid Plus will sell miles inside HeyMax's funding ceiling. That rests on a regional prior, the Japan Airlines and EVA and Vietnam Airlines and Garuda treaties, and not on a quoted Thai number. If the rate comes back materially above the ceiling and will not move, the verdict degrades from yes to corridor only, and the entry waits. This is one negotiation away from being resolved, which is precisely why Phase 1 is structured the way it is. 2. The governance refusal. If Royal Orchid Plus will sell at rate but will not sign rate protection, notice periods and floor guarantees, then walk away. An ungoverned anchor at a financially fragile parent is not an asset. It is the atom lesson with more zeros on the end. 3. A super app currency. If Grab or Shopee announces a genuine multi-airline transferable currency in Thailand, and I mean transfer breadth, not coins, and not a single partner tie-up, then the entrant-shaped gap closes and Thailand joins the completed markets. I judge this unlikely on both companies' demonstrated loyalty economics. The watch signal is any super app airline partnership announcement in the region. 4. The regulator turns. If the Bank of Thailand opens an interchange consultation with caps in view, the funding thesis is on a clock, and the Australian precedent applies directly. Nothing in the current supervisory agenda suggests it. PromptPay is the priority and has been for years. 5. The clock runs faster than modeled. If PromptPay's conquest moves upmarket into affluent card, spend materially faster than the 5-year runway assumes, the window narrows and the Phase 4 rail becomes urgent rather than optional. This one is measurable quarterly in card versus QR volume splits. I would treat 2 consecutive quarters of accelerating affluent tier displacement as the trigger. 5 falsifiers, 2 of them resolvable by a single conversation. That is an unusually testable verdict, and testability is the only thing that makes a recommendation worth anything at all. Anyone can say enter Thailand. The question is whether they will tell you, in advance, what would make them wrong. So, Thailand is the strongest untouched market on HeyMax's map. The seat is empty, the corridor already pays, the anchor is selling, and the evidence says the zero should end. Go and take it.